Welcome to Chanakya, where you get the right guidance at the right time. Today we have our Agile experts, Shivguru and Srini with us. Welcome Shivguru and Srini. We are going to explore a Scrum situation with these two experts. Srinidhi is a Scrum Master who has a team of 6. Of the 6 members, 2 are experienced and the 4 are fairly new and even new to the industry. So, Srinidhi has been doing sprint planning using tasks and hours. He is very comfortable with it and it has been going well. Jim, one of the Agile coaches from the headquarter, is visiting. He comes and tells him that you should not do sprint planning using tasks and hours and you should do it only using story points. He is a proponent of doing story point sprint planning, not only release planning, but even sprint planning using story points. So, Srinidhi changes and adopts to doing that, but he has not had good results. Many times he sees that he is not able to complete the stories along with the team. Sometimes they get surprises mid-sprint. Srinidhi is confused and he wants to know whether it is okay to go back to the earlier way of doing or not. So, Shivguru and Srini, what would be your advice to Srinidhi?
Okay, let me start. Right. First of all, I look at sprint planning as an exercise in making a commitment towards a sprint goal. Right. Actually, I should roll back a little bit because according to the latest Scrum guide, the word commitment is too strong. They say it is only a forecast. Right. So, I would say then it is a forecast the team makes to do its best and meet the sprint goal. That's how I would define the objective as.
That's a very crystal clear directive, Srini. Shivguru, would you like to add something?
Yeah, but my take is slightly different in that. In this case, I don't even know if they were really doing any planning, because planning requires that you think about what is needed to be done. Okay, and Agile has a nice way of doing that by having this concept called the definition of done. Okay. If the team is clear about what needs to be done, when a story is complete, when a sprint is complete, when a release is complete, you can define definitions of done at different levels. Now, for the team, it then acts as a checklist or at least a work breakdown structure that they can use. It's not necessary that they go down to the details of hours for each of those tasks, but at least it forces them to think of various things that need to be done to get, let's say, a story completed. So, thinking about what steps are needed, what tasks are needed will definitely help the team become more mature in doing that. Okay. Particularly since you say that there are a few who are new to the industry and also to the company, their own learning will improve when they discuss as a team and then look at what kind of commitment they can make. Yeah. Based on practical situation, yes, maybe we treat it as a forecast, but my suggestion would be that they move towards making it as a commitment so that they can use it in the retrospective, see how they can improve, etc.
Very well said, Shivguru. Srini, would you like to add something more?
Yeah, I would continue with what Shivji said, but add one more flavor to that part, right? The thing is, when you get into sprint planning, you get into a situation where you find the team needs different skill sets. A typical Scrum team has people with varied skill set. Now, all of these people in a normal Agile world are supposed to be cross-functional, right? And if they're mature and they've been working together for a while, I would completely go with what Shivji said, right? Because then it is intuitive for them to actually make the sprint plan work. But when you look at some of these situations, it is not always that case. So, the first thing I would say is you potentially need to look at what is the capacity that you have for a particular skill set and what is needed in a particular sprint. So, for example, in this sprint, let's say I find that there is a lot more testing to be done than the capacity I have. In a mature Agile team which is cross-functional, people will cross the borders, will go chip in, help each other out, right? Because they have one common objective, that is to meet the sprint goal. That will happen. Yeah. But there are other cases I have seen where this will not be practical to be done. So, I'll share with you an example of one such interesting situation I went through. This was the team which was into sprint planning, and they had some stories which would come which are high intensity in testing, right? So when they initially started a sprint plan, they would come and say, okay, these are the 8 stories we want to take it up. And then quickly they'll find that 4 of these 8 stories are high intensity in testing, and looking at their total capacity, they would say, wait a minute, all 4 are not possible. They'll quickly swap one of those high intensity testing with a normal story, right? This way, the team would still strive to meet its sprint forecast. Okay?
Srini, very good points related to the mix of skill set available and skill set required. Shivguru, your perspective on this?
Yeah, I agree with Srini that there are a lot of factors that influence the quality of the plans that the teams make. Typically, the teams would be concerned with at least 2 levels of planning. I am not counting the day-to-day planning that they do in the stand-ups and all that. What is called as a release planning and a sprint planning. I agree completely with Srini in terms of the forecast, doing it during your release planning when the stories are coarse and then you don't have that much detail, story points are good enough. You can even use your past velocity to say that, yeah, maybe this is what we will be able to take up, like in the case of those testing stories. But when it comes to a sprint, now I would still recommend that the team makes a commitment. Okay, and to do that, yes, the steps that you said would definitely be needed in terms of looking at your capacity, looking at what can be achieved reasonably, and to do that, as I said earlier, the work breakdown structure or the tasks. Okay, and for this team, in the current situation, I would still recommend that they go with hours at the sprint planning level with the tasks, so that the team matures, and once they are comfortable with that, okay, then their forecast about the release and the commitment about the sprint can be much better.
So we are like 2 lawyers here for you. Right? Okay. We seem to agree on everything, but we are just disagreeing on a use of a word.
Good talking to both of you, Shivguru and Srini. Let me try to summarize. Sprint planning is about setting an achievable goal by the team, and the team must do what it feels is required for achieving it. Planning is about thinking through all the steps that is required for achieving the sprint goal, and that should be done collectively by the team. Work requires different skill sets, so it's a good practice to make sure that you compare the required skill set with the available skill set. For planning, especially for newly formed teams like in this case, it is advisable that they use tasks and hours and move to other ways of planning as they gain maturity. Would you like to add anything to the summary, Srini and Shivguru? Thank you, Srini and Shivguru. I am sure Scrum Masters like Srinidhi will find these experiential insights useful to them. Thank you.